Some might find it a surprise that Southern California's Willow Springs Raceway is the oldest permanent road course in the United States, and it has a history that matches its longevity. Completed in 1953, it played a huge role in the development of the Southern Cal sports car racing culture, including helping launch the careers of drivers named Bucknam, Dye, Ginther, Gurney, and Hill. It also was pivotal in the development of Carroll Shelby's Ford GT40s. And on a quiet midweek day, you can almost hear 10 miles pounding around the track in the desert breeze. The track was designed in the style of the great European tracks of that era and remains absolutely unchanged from its original layout. And that means it is brutally fast. Yet, ironically, it's very safe, as the runoff area is literally desert for miles and miles and miles. That allowed the drivers of the day in cars that were, less than safe to have the confidence to push the limit. And Willow's limit still seems limitless. Combine the speeds and safety with some great elevation changes, and it's no surprise it was and remains a huge driver favorite. And tonight, for the very first time, it welcomes the Wizards of the Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miata Championship for round 3 of the 3rd season of 2024. Welcome to Big Willow. Hi all, I'm Greg Kramer, and along with Kyle Heyer. And Kyle, I'll tell you what, there is little doubt as to why Willow has been called the fastest road in the West. Check this out, for over 7 decades.
This is one of the great American racetracks, Greg, and it might not have the prominence that some of the other ones that we are familiar with have, but let me tell you this, you said the fastest road in the West. You don't even need your brake pedal tonight. Maybe just for a smidge, 3-4% of a lap. The rest of it, you're flat to the floor, over 8,000 RPM all the way around here, elevation, high speed, and you mentioned it, there is, a ton of runoff in the form of gravel and dirt, but there are rocks hidden there too, so you can't go too far off without finding yourself in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to make a habit of it, but if you have that big moment, it's not like you're going to crash into a barrier of some sort, probably. There are moments here, of course, but, it's just this amazing ribbon that just winds through the California desert. And the elevation change, there are spots that reminds me a little bit of Sonoma because it's abrupt and over-rises and at apexes and the like. And that, of course, makes things challenging as well. And, basically from turn 6 all the way around to turn 1, pretty flat desert floor, and then it climbs the hillside. And it is just really cool, and it has been around for a long time. And man, like I said, I was there just once, but you could just sort of feel the history and sense the drivers that had spent time there, that had gone on to absolutely great things internationally. This was a key place in history.
I think it's really special because I don't think you'd get tracks built like this anymore. So many tracks are built with, what about passing zones? Or I want to have overtaking here, and I want to create a handling section or a high-speed section. This was, let's lay down a ribbon of asphalt that follows the contours of the land. And there wasn't much thought put into where you can pass. You're just going to man up and do it, right? And so this place is so fast. It's pretty wide in a lot of places as well, but it narrows up. The track width changes over the course of the lap. But one thing you're not going to be doing a whole lot of is slowing down. And that means every little mistake is going to get capitalized on as Captain Hibbett follows some traffic into Rabbit's here. A little contact there, and it's already feeling pretty crowded here in qualifying.
Oh, yeah. Somebody else just shot off the outside as well. So yeah, this is it's a tricky place, but as you said, it's just fast. And you think about the tracks that were in existence in that era, even in North America, when they came in, the original Glen, just absolutely fast, no real slow corners. Mosport up in Canada, tracks like that where it was just basically, we want this to be as fast as we could possibly go here and really have just let the cars fly. And on most of them, it was safety be damned, because obviously on a lot of those tracks, there were trees and hedges and all kinds of things just off the edge of the track. That's why I think drivers love this place, because as I said, you could go really fast here, and you didn't feel like if you just dropped a tire, you could end up in trees and the like. And doesn't mean it isn't a challenge to drive. You get these little nuances of bits of dips there, then it starts to climb here. Right about midway through turn 1, it falls off as you're exiting, so the camber goes away. And then you come up into this spot, Kyle, and you get this great compression here as you enter what is called the Omega due to its shape. That big compression, you can really sort of chuck the car in there, can't you?
You can, and you've got elevation on your side here, so you're going to use the gravity to slow the car down. Now gravity's working against you, I guess with you to pull you faster, but against you in the braking zone right here. Probably one of the heavier braking zones on this track. Dip it in, back to the left, and then back on power for what feels like forever. And that fastest road in the West moniker, Greg, I think it's especially true in the last corner here, turns 8 and 9. It is an unbelievable corner. It defies your brain because you want to brake before the corner, but no, full throttle into it, Greg, and maybe a touch of the brakes to get it pointed when you're about 80% of the way done with it.
Yeah, we were listening while we were chatting before we came on here while they were practicing, and it's just that, like you said, right about here, that little breathe, just to get the nose pointed a bit, and then you're just right back on it again. It's just crazy. And the interesting thing is that tightest corner you're talking about, that exit of 5, one of probably the most important turns as well, because if you get it wrong, you're slow all the way down to turn 9. I mean, it's a really important corner.
There's about 31 drivers here tonight that are gearing up for this challenge, and this is a paid track within the iRacing service, and I don't want to call it obscure. That would be unfair with all of its racing history, but it certainly isn't necessarily one of the top 5 tracks you think about when you come to North American road racing. So we thought that this might be a lighter round with participation, but that has not been the case. We're 3 rounds in. This will be our 3rd round of the next season of the Full Send Sim Spec Miata series, but this is a challenge that we haven't done before. And when you go to a new racetrack, Greg, especially in iRacing, you're going to have to put in that extra practice. If you don't, it's going to be pretty apparent. And already Burkhardt and Hibbett are at the top. Josh Soto's 3rd, and CJ Bunn, a relatively new name to the series, is currently 4th. And he's a Georgian driver. I was excited. I thought we'd see California on that because there are some drivers that I think have a specialty here at this racetrack.
Yeah, and CJ showed well earlier too, didn't he? And nice to have Wan Chi Lin back, who sits in 5th right now. We didn't see him in the first couple of rounds, and great to have him back and doing a really nice job right now up into that 5th spot. Nicholas Rice-Puto currently in 6th. The margin at the front between Burkhardt and Hibbett, 0.14, 14 100ths of a second, but then a pretty sizable gap, almost 3/10 back to Soto and the rest of the field. So those two kind of have things dialed in just a little bit here, and that's what I just want to make a point here. The overall outright track record here, just for fun, was set back, believe it or not, in 1987. So imagine what a current IndyCar could potentially do. Michael Andretti lapped this track 2.5 miles at 1 minute 6.050 seconds, an average speed of 136 miles an hour. So, imagine what a more modern Indy, car could do. One of, in particular, even not going modern, but say one of the like Nigel Mansell and Michael Andretti's Carl Haas Indy cars in the 90s that were just staggeringly fast with massive downforce. Wow.
I could only imagine. I mean, this is one of those places where you could extract a lot of speed out of a car like that. It is what I would consider a high downforce track. It's funny to note that the average speed was 136 miles an hour. We won't even touch 120 at VMAX today in these cars as Burkhardt takes a big curb hop. So, this is a high commitment place. Even in these MX-5s, it's full throttle a lot of the time around.
And you were telling me before we came on the air that those curb hops, the backside, you can see it right there, the backside of those curbs are really sharp and almost razor blade-like. And you hit one the wrong way, you could damage a suspension or tire easily, right?
Yeah, so I was mentioning this before because I saw this be problematic. Watch the impacts and the jounce of all the suspension components here, and especially I think we saw some sparks out from under the 40 after he grinds the subframe there on the tail end of that curve.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't worry about parts. Well, now maybe in that case I would. Parts falling off the car. But you have to be cautious with how aggressive you're going to get. And even off tracks, Greg, you pointed out that you're not going to necessarily hit a wall, but there are some places Rabbit's Ear in particular, look off the driver's right there. Look at that big mound of dirt. You hit that going 100 miles an hour, you're going for a ride.
Oh, there's no question about it. And then you've got, I assume, those green things. I'm not sure if they're water tanks or if they're just flagging platforms or what. But you clout one of those, it's not going to be fun either here. And we just saw something pretty rare. I can't remember seeing Morgan Burkhardt have an off like that in quality that we've ever seen.
I wonder if it was
pushing hard.
If it was one of those I'm done qualifying moments.
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe not. Let's see. Who's going through the last corner here? Oh yeah, yes it was.
Oh yeah.
There's one of those walls you were mentioning, Greg.
Yeah, exactly.
They do have some.
There are some. Yeah. Otherwise you could end up in Bakersfield.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick here. As time is running out, looks like Burkhardt is going to hang on to the pole, but Camden Hibbett took it down to 75 one-thousandths of a second. Joshua Soto closed it up a bit as well. But I wanted to mention, obviously, we're going to talk sponsors in a minute, but big news here, and apologies for not getting this out to you a little bit sooner. We have our hardware prizes have been announced. And I want to get your input on it because you're a little bit more, in sync, if you will, with these things. But first place is a SimMagic Alpha Mini GT1 wheel. Apparently, it is absolutely top tier.
Yeah, so SimMagic stuff is some of the top tier direct drive equipment on the market. It really is some of the best stuff. And while it's not the top tier within the SimMagic lineup, it's still a fantastic prize for first place this season. So that's a really exciting one, Greg. Direct drive, which means that there's no belts or gears to get in the way of what you're feeling. It's one of the best systems you can get on the market right now.
And then the second one there is the SimMagic DS8X shifter in a full metal construction, H-pattern or sequential shifting with a quick flip of a switch. That sounds pretty trip.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with this particular shifter, but if it's in line with the rest of SimMagic's products, I am sure that it's going to be a pretty awesome shifter to have, especially for those running in sequential cars in particular. That's a really great piece of kit to have, Greg. And then, of course, for me, I won't be running, but this is something that I actually use every day on SimTV. This is the Stream Deck Plus. I don't have the Plus model, but the Stream Deck, whether you're streaming or gaming and you want some extra buttons and knobs to twist and turn to control things, you can set it up at like an infinite button box with infinite profiles. You want to have a dashboard that represents an MX-5 and then an LMP2. You can switch pages and have your on button and your wipers and all that other stuff on there. You can do tons of things in the streaming world with it and control all your volumes. That's a great piece of kit. That's my favorite, even though it's the third place prize for the season, Greg.
All right. Well, obviously, lots for people to be aiming for here as you take a look at the track here. Just wanted to mention one more thing about this track. We talked about Ken Miles, and he drove 4 GT40s here, testing them, just pounding laps around. But he was actually one of several people who were involved in planning the layout of the track. So, Ken Miles and that great history very much on display here at Willow. First race was actually held November 23rd of 1953. That's some history.
It really is. And, man, we've got our 31-car starting grid, so let's go through it. It's Morgan Burkhardt and Camden Hibbett on the front row. Maybe no surprise there. That'll be fun to watch those two go at it, followed by Joshua Soto and CJ Bunn in that second row. Then Hayden Manis and Jordan Rick Segrini will roll off in row number 3, Greg.
Then in row number 4, it will be the 68 of Wan Chi Lin. Great to have him back. And Nicholas Rice-Puto, former champion, in his 03. Then in the 9th spot, it'll be the 200 of Dylan Lee. Nice qualifying run. And an on-form Andrew Wozencroft up into the 10th spot again in his number 80.
Yeah, strong run there. Trace Hance rolls off 11th. The number 53, Olivier Piatek, has some work to do in that number 62 from 12th spot. Deacon Greenfield and Andrew Gilliland wrap out row number 7 in 13th and 14th.
And then starting in the 15th spot, the 32 of Skip Brock Jr. 16th will be the 29 of Jean Reyes. And then we move to the 17th spot, the 311 of Jorge Ortiz. And the number 89 of Jim Friedhofer will start 18th. Starting 19th will be Elliot Burton in the number 6. And rounding out our top 20, Dylan Maroney in the 145.
Joshua Clatterbuck rolls off 21st in the number 101. Nate Spitz, new to the championship, rolls off in 22nd. And then Preston Pardis, MX-5 hero, starts 23rd in the number 42. And Al Ducharme, 24th, Greg, in that number 70.
And then starting 25th, the 33 of Cord Schmidt, our fearless leader. And Seth Bowman will start 26th in the 042.
Arif Aziz starts 27th in the number 212, and it's Andrew Guada in 28th in the number 61. The last row and a half, Jose de las Casas, Wayne Buttermore, and Celine Roland joins us tonight. He will roll off 31st in the number 87 car, and it is a big field tonight with a lot on the line. It's still early in the season, Greg, but every race matters, and with those front two, Burkhardt and Hibbett, I think they've still got championship on their mind, playing big picture perhaps, but who doesn't want to win at Willow Springs?
Well, absolutely. Our first ever visit. So, it'll be a little bit historic in its own right with that, obviously. And I'll tell you what, coming in here, obviously Morgan only ran the first event, had to miss the run we had at Summit. So that puts him back in 5th in the points. But Hibbett is 14 points clear of Rick Segrini, so he's made some good here. But it's Skip Brock, Andrew Gilliland are 3rd and 4th. How nice is it to see some new faces up in that top 5 in points? And they've earned it. They have been putting on some great races. Both have a little bit of work to do here today, but let's see what unfolds here.
Pace car is going to peel off. We got a little ways until the start-finish line. It's quite far down the straightaway. Once we go green, Greg, though, it's going to be pretty much full throttle from now for the next 20 minutes. We do it twice on the night.
Oh, this is going to be fabulous. Getting ready to go. Race 1 of 2. We're green! And a big move from the back. There goes Trace Hans, but Burkhardt gets the nose ahead just a little bit here. And he's got Josh Soto right on his 6, trying to make something happen there. See if he can freeze out Camden Hibbett. Camden just openly running that little wider line. And obviously you're not coming quite as fast down that straight. No problem for Camden to run that outside line. 3-4 abreast, though, heading into turn 2. So far, fingers crossed, everybody seems to be playing nicely at this stage.
Nicholas Rice-Budo just saved about half the field. I'll go back and show you that in a little while, as there is a car that's off there. That is Deaky Greenfield in the number 20. The blue car just dropped a tire there, but Burkhardt leads the field up into Omega for the first time.
Yeah, this is such a great piece of racetrack. Like I said, that big climb up over the rise, you turn in, and then the camber falls away for a minute as you then just drop down the hill here. There's a little compression. A couple of cars problems up in the middle there. I saw the 89 was involved in it, couldn't catch the other numbers. That looks like the number 32 of Skip Brock. That's a shame.
Yeah, you mentioned how well he was doing in the point standings.
Yeah.
And that's going to severely hurt his outcome tonight. A little bit of a breakaway at the front, about 6 cars. Then it's a second back to Juan Chi-Lin, who's got a bunch of cars packed in behind him for the first run through turn 9.
Yeah, look at Trace Hans trying to work the outside there. Going to be difficult to do. And Rice-Budo takes advantage, stuffs it down the inside here. Is it going to hold? Because here comes Hans working that outside line. Drops them all off, gathers it up, but has to, at that point, drop back in position. But look at this battle. Rick Segrini in the heat of it with Hayden Manis. And I think that's C.J. Bunn as well, isn't it?
It is. C.J. Bunn is the driver that drops right behind him. And for the lead, Burkhardt's on driver's right and Camden Hibbett's on the left. Hibbett has a little bit of a nose ahead, but as soon as they turn in for this long corner, I thought it might be advantage Burkhardt, but Hibbett throttled up better on the outside.
Well, this is that thing. If you can pinch him now on the exit, and you can't just let it free flow out, you can just exit with a little bit more speed. That's exactly what happens. Morgan trying to stay with him. Hibbett, did you notice that? Just sort of drifted over a little bit and gave him the cold shoulder, if you will. And Morgan decided, all right, I'm going to tuck back in here. And I think that it wasn't so much that that Hibbett was going, hey, I'm mad at you. I think Hibbett was saying, too soon, dude, I got you clean. We don't want to have this pack piling up on us. And, even that little exchange, though, look at this. This is as close, I think, as we've probably ever seen our top 15 after a few laps.
And the draft is going to be a big part of that here. Let's go back to the very beginning of this race. Watch the gray car in the center of the screen right here on exit. That big wiggle. I mean, that is about as close to crashing as you're going to get.
Yeah, and from that spot, you were going to collect a ton of other cars. So great save by Nicholas Rice-Budo. And I know Nicholas is probably frustrated at the start once again here, but the guy he's got a couple of top fives, but he's shown really well in qualifying, and then has just been shuffled back a little bit. And, he's tried to get the elbows out, be a little bit more aggressive, and that hasn't paid off for him either. He's got to be really frustrated because we know how quick he is.
No.
Oh, Piatek and Hans. Man, that was an amazing save by Olivier. He knew he got in there too hot, and he caught Hans, and I think Trey saw it coming, and the two of them just superb reactions, Kyle. Both of them saving what could have been a big one.
This kind of feels like Talladega with extra steps. I mean, you're just trying to find a drafting buddy and slot into line, and it's just wild to see how much momentum drivers are able to stick with and carry. I thought that we would break this up a little quicker, but this is dicey down the hill here. CJ Bond and Rice Budo.
Yeah, another little tap there. And this turn right here is one of the most important on the track. It's one of the tighter ones. Oh, Piatek way off. Now comes back on, but that turn is one of the tighter ones, and it's one of the most important ones. It's turn 5, because basically you're downhill and all the way to that little bit of a moment where you lift a midpoint between 8 and 9, and if you screw up 5, you're just carrying that loss of speed relative to the other cars all the way down that huge long back section of track.
So nose to tail now, Rice Budo taking a lot of liberty with the exit of turn 9. It's pretty flat track there right before the pit entry, and the two leaders continue to trade spots back and forth.
Look at this.
This is tight and dicey for the top spot.
Oh, watch Soto here. He just went way outside. He's wanted to roll a ton of speed, and that was a great defensive move by Camden Hibbett, because Soto was rolling so much more speed than Camden, and Camden just put his car right where he wanted to go. And Rice Budo actually catching the tire. Oh, and now Piatek slamming into him of CJ Bunn. The two of them touched tires, and wow, Rice Budo went up, but looked like he was okay, and then he spun. I think that broke CJ Bunn when they touched.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate, and Rice Budo, that will be the end of his night. Let's go back and see exactly how this kind of came together. They're going off into Rabbit Ear here, and just a little touch up and over, and I think you nailed it on the head there, Greg.
Yeah, and then Piatek unsighted, nowhere to go. And what a shame, because it was some absolute. Yeah, watch this here, Piatek. Oh, that was Bunn came back on. Piatek had to swerve to avoid him, and then caught Rice Budo just coming back across. Boom.
And that's the sign that the luck is not going to go your way tonight, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's a pretty clear indicator, isn't it?
The racing gods giveth, and the racing gods taketh away.
Boy, that they do. And on a track like this, where it's just absolute full throttle all the time, those little touches, they can become big moments. There's no question of that. Hibbett's going to try the outside again into 1. See, Morgan turns in. Look at the smile on Hibbett's face. He's going, we're at it again, he and Morgan. Now, look at that. He went outside, in, now he's back out. And the one thing that Camden's got to be a little wary of is that red and black number 77 with the lime green numbers on it. Here comes Hibbett down to the inside of Burkhardt. Burkhardt should have position, though, once they get into the Omega right here.
Yeah, all these corners are pretty long and sweeping, so as long as you have the inside lane, you can protect pretty well. Wan Shi Lin, late lunge up the inside of Trace Hansen, completes that pass at the crest of Omega.
That was pretty, wasn't it?
It was.
Made that work, made it stick, as these guys are still battling here. And all of this side by side with Burkhardt and Hibbett is keeping this pack pretty close concert and tight here. And got a nice run going here, too, by Jean Reyes, who has come right back up into it. And Dylan Lee, in particular, really showing good form here and really having at it. But look at these two guys up front, side by side again. And this time, Hibbett in position. Boy, did he open up a nice little margin here.
I'm really surprised at how this track is racing. I didn't really know what to expect. I've only done one stream here before, and it was with the newer generation MX-5s. They raced completely differently. I wasn't really anticipating it to race like this, where you just got so much of this accordion back and forth going on in big groups of cars together. So I think you're right about Josh Soto. I like where Soto is right now. Let these two fight, burn up their tires, have some fun. It's hot out there today, 114-degree track temp. Sit here in third and wait for your chance to pounce.
Well, you bring up a really good point. On the Discord chat and everything, I was looking at it, and a lot of the drivers who have driven here before have talked about you've got to take care of your tires. in these long arcing corners. Remember, this is out in the desert, so you get sand and stuff that just gets up onto the track a little bit, and that can turn into a little bit like sandpaper. So you've just got to be mindful of your tires. And you know, I haven't really seen Morgan curb hop like this in lots of other venues. I mean, he uses them, but here he's just brutalizing him. And I wonder if that's, you know, he's saying, I'd rather bounce a little bit than slide the tires.
Oh, Hibbett got a little too much there, leaving turn 5. And like I said, and knowing what I know about the new damage model and the way that these curbs were on launch, I'd be pretty cautious about jumping over them. The Ford Mustang in particular was really susceptible to it, but they're a very sharp shape is the way I can describe it. They're not like the kind of smooth FIA curbs that you get everywhere else. This is old school curbing, Greg. If you run into it, you might have a bad day.
Yeah, this is very old school. I mean, this whole track is old school, but, you know, really that's the kind of curbing you had at the original Glen and at Mossport. You know, all of those tracks that were, you know, built to just be these wicked, fast-flowing tracks. Look at this, and here comes Hibbett again, Burkhardt, and then Soto going to the outside. He likes this outside around move. The track's wide enough, but he drops the tires this time.
A little too wide.
Yeah. Hey, how about Hayden Manis here? He's worked his way around to Jordan Rixagrini and is locked into 4th and is closing on this group. In fact, he's caught him now. What a drive by Hayden. And
he's qualified really well, too. So
he did.
He's just got pace tonight. That I think it's great that he's showing that now. And Trace Hance in this 53 has also done a nice job, 11th to 6th in the early stages of this race and hounding Jordan Rixagrini. And Hayden Manis got it all wrong heading up the hill here, and Hance has got 2 in the crosshairs.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the thing for Trace, remember, it wasn't that long ago that Wanchi Lin got through on him. And so in a very short time, Trace not only got back around Wanchi, but he was able to close up noticeably on Rixagrini. And then these guys having at it. And Jean Reyes is showing some form here. You know, Dylan Lee had been glued to the back of this group, and Reyes was, about a half second back. Reyes has run him down and gone through. And here we go again.
Just lap after lap after lap. I don't know how many lead changes we've had so far, but how about 4? And we've only done 7 laps.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. And that's only at the start line, right?
Correct.
Probably?
Yep.
Yeah, so I think we've had plenty more. And Soto getting a really good double toe here. Comes up alongside the outside of Morgan. The problem is he had that big head of steam going and had to get rid of it all because Hibbett was doing the wide line, and Hibbett drops them all. You don't lose a whole lot there, do you?
No, it's all hard-packed sand and gravel, so it's not like dropping off into a soft Georgia clay or off into the grass at Lime Rock. It's pretty hard surface there. It'll make a bunch of racket with pebbles and things ripping around inside the cabin, but otherwise it's a pretty okay ground. You just worry about getting a whole lot of incident points, big stack up and accordion into turn 3 there.
Wow, did you see Soto dynamite the brakes? I think he had a little bit more of a run on Camden than he thought. Had to really hit the binders, and I was sure Manis was just going to slap the back end of that car. Somehow he got out of it, and then Rixagrini, Hance, Wanchi, they all had to check up big time. All made it, though. Great driving.
This run down from Monroe Ridge all the way down to the sweeper, which is the last sequence of corners, it's so fun. It just feels like you're doing like a luge ride in the Winter Olympics, right? You're just falling down left, right, and then just completely in the throttle, carrying your momentum as far as you can go. Hibbett on the outside. This is tough. There's not a lot of grip out here. He's going to have to tuck in a little later than Burkhardt and cross him over, which he's going to try to do, Greg.
Yeah, and Burkhardt thought about trying to stay pinned to the inside, but he hit a little bump and the car bounced out. Didn't hurt him much, but I think Hibbett actually scrubbed a little bit more momentum and speed. And not only do I think Soto's coming through, I think Hayden Manis has position. Look at Hayden way down to the inside and had to check up because I think he saw Hibbett was going to come right across his nose. And after all that, I'm stunned that Hibbett ends up still in second.
And here comes Rixagrini around Manis. And this is something I think the drivers will learn, is that drivers left in turn 1 will generally lose you positions because the next corner is such a long right-hander. So I almost always want drivers right through turn 1. It's a predominantly clockwise circuit, so you kind of want to set yourself up to stay there.
That makes perfect sense, doesn't it? And, you know, you were talking about that part of the track called Monroe Ridge, and we're coming to it now. Here is, you drop down, here's that really crucial turn 5. You're going downhill, and then right there, you can see that little rise right at the apex. That's Monroe Ridge. And you've got to have the right line there, and that all starts with getting the exit of 5 right.
Check in on Celine Roland, 31st to 18th. He's a long ways back from the front group. But I don't think he got a qualifying lap in, so this is pretty good progress, all things considered. And
no, he put in a good one here. He's all over the back of Jose de las Casas right now. Jose had a really nice run at Summit, didn't he? And, excuse me, at the opener. He had a good run at Summit, too. And then here's Andrew Gilliland, another top 10. And he started back at 14th. Look at that, he dropped to 16th in some of that action at the start and has worked his way back up into 10th.
Yeah, he's got Elliott Burton and Preston Pardus behind him. If you're ahead of Preston Pardus in an MX-5, you've done something, and he's doing it right now. So is Camden Hibbett, trying drivers left on the entrance here to Rabbit Ear. And this is just going to be a constant chess match here. We've only got 5 minutes left. And
no, this has flown by.
It's going to sail by. It's such a fast track.
So here's the question, Kyle. You've been watching this now. One, you still think that Josh Soto is maybe in the right spot? And if so, where can this move be made?
I think he's in the perfect spot, and I think it's going to all happen on the second half of the racetrack. It's not as easy to set up a pass down there, but Camden Hibbett and Burkhardt are almost certainly going to be side by side going into the sweeper on the last lap. So set yourself up to be right in trail behind them. Let them compromise each other and tuck underneath and draft past them at the line. I've seen 3 wide finishes here at this racetrack in iRacing. I think it's possible to do it in these cars.
Well, it's certainly going to be fun to watch, that's for sure. I was kind of wondering if, I've been watching this here, that look at this move down to the inside by Hibbett, dropped the rights a little bit, got underneath on Morgan. Now he's going to drift over to make sure that he's got a little bit better roll speed for the final part through turn 9, the exit of the big sweeper here.
Exactly what I'm talking about.
Look at Soto coming.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. So if he can just do that again on the last lap and beat them in the run to the line, I think he's in the right spot.
I think we're 3 wide into 1 here. Touch! Oh, you can see the wiggle there. Soto's up on the outside of Burkhardt. And he had, is he going to be able to keep it on track? And here comes Rick Segrini. You know Jordan's going to pounce on that. Look at Soto just drop back 3, 4, 5 spots here. One cheese going to flow around.
Yeah, he just got muscled off here. I think Burkhardt off to the right just a little bit, just kind of ran out of road. That's an incredible save. I cannot believe he kept it on the track.
Absolutely. But, you know, when you're at a track with these types of cars and you're full throttle 95% of the time, that little slide is a massive momentum killer. And it just takes these cars a long time to get back up to speed.
Yeah, drop kicked him all the way down to 6th. And now Rick Segrini, as you pointed out, is sitting in 3rd with a slight gap back to Wan Shi Lin. That's a pretty good differential to maintain. He's going to have 2 laps at the stripe, Hibbett will, to hang on to this top spot. And we'll see what Jordan Rick Segrini can do now that he's the driver in the catbird seat.
Yeah, and he's been, we've seen him. He can be pretty creative. It's going to be interesting to see what he might be able to do here. Of course, he's also one of the drivers who's doing a fair amount of real-world racing as well. And I'll tell you what, boy, he is pushing Morgan right back onto the 6 of Hibbett here. There's that little breathe. And, you know, I can't say that's a break at all. That's just a little breathe. Get the nose pinned a little bit and just arc through that corner. That's incredible stuff. Here we go.
2 minutes and 30 seconds left. 2 laps left. Burkhardt with a big run to the outside into turn 1. Hibbett's on the left, but I want to be drivers right here because of this next corner. Look how tight it is between these two at 90 miles an hour.
And you can see that pinched Hibbett and allowed Rick Segrini to be able to close up just a little bit. Hibbett's still tracking the, if he can stay there, he'll be in good shape heading into the Omega, up into essentially turn 3 here. I don't know if he's got enough overlap. He's got some. Here he comes. Boy, this is going to be close. They're side by side into the Omega. That is close stuff. Hibbett there, nice respect. I don't know that Morgan would have given him that much room, to be honest with you.
Question is, do you want to be leading coming down to turn 9? I mean, think of it like Daytona. Would you want to be leading leaving the bus stop? Probably not. So maybe Hibbett setting himself up to look like he's trying to get around, but he's actually positioning himself to be in the right spot.
So we have a 9-car battle for the lead. Top 9 are covered by a tick over 2 seconds. This is just phenomenal stuff. And I want to start taking bets on how many cars we're going to have off track in the sweeper.
Oh, all of them.
On the last lap. Yeah, I mean off track. You know, but because, you know, somebody's going to force the issue and we're going to have a kerfuffle, if not an outright carambolage.
Well, kerfuffle, carambolage. Those sound like excellent desserts, Greg, but let's see who's got the sweetest tooth of all. Last lap here in Willow Springs.
All right, here we go. Oh, David Hobbs. I'm channeling him apparently here. All right, here we go. And look at him dive into the inside. But here's what you were talking about. Driver's right. Morgan's got it. Look at Rick Segrini trying to force his way through. And now, how far out does Morgan exit here? And he gives Hibbett a fair amount of room, but look at Hibbett able to roll that little bit of speed. Oh. Hibbett is there. A touch again, maybe. And look at Wan Chi. He is coming up and playing some. He and Trace Hans are in a great battle trying to round up Rick Segrini here. And here we go. Here's the key run. Coming out of the Omega and now heading to that all-important turn 5. No mistakes here. Ooh, Hibbett a little wide. Did that hurt him in terms of some momentum here?
I think he built it up just in time. He's going to be in the slipstream here. Rick Segrini's watching from behind now. We're going to set ourselves up for this last run. Hibbett won't have overlap into turn 9, but he will be there, Greg. 2 more corners.
Morgan defends. Goes to the inside. That's going to give Rick Segrini a little bit of a double draft. Here comes Hibbett trying the outside. And Rick Segrini now needs to choose. Where do I go? Comes down to the inside of Hibbett. Hibbett trying to get back down to the apex. Rick Segrini not giving it to him. Hibbett is off. And here's the drag race. Looks like Morgan probably has it covered here. Rick Segrini, and that big move. Oh! Hibbett gave it everything he possibly could. And surprised Rick Segrini a little bit, but wow. Well, that was the finish you were talking about.
51 thousandths.
Yeah, I love it. How fun is that? Well, look at this.
There's your margin of victory.
That is stellar.
Wow.
Well, I think we got our answer on this place, huh?
I got to be honest.
She's a fun one.
She is, and I really wasn't anticipating it to be this wild. So we're going to get to look at that finish again in just a moment's time. But let's take a look at the results while we still got them loaded here. And it's Morgan Burkhardt over Camden Hibbett by 51 thousandths of a second. I think Hibbett learned a lot on that last lap. But Rick Segrini didn't help. He stuck the nose in late at turn 9 and kind of compromised that run to the checkers for Camden. And he will know not to leave that door open next time.
Yeah, when you're in that sandwich where, you know, you've got somebody attacking from behind and the only way to win is you've got to attack, you're always a little worried. How about the battle, too, between Wan Chi Lin and Trace Hans for 4th and 5th? Actually, for the podium, because they were all over Rick Segrini on the last lap. And here's a stat for you. How about that? Top 7 covered by less than a second coming across the line. That's about as close as it gets. And Preston Pardis in 10th. Look at the gap back. A big one, but he came from a ways back as well.
Yeah, he did. And looking down the rest of the order there, one driver I was trying to find on the ordering, I just missed it. Couldn't find him with Celine Roland there at the tail end of that race. But let's go back and look again at the last sequence of corners with Burkhardt and Camden Hibbett. Greg, tell me what you see here, because Hibbett had a shot, but I think Rick Segrini tried to get a little too much, a little too quick, and might have kind of hampered the whole operation here.
Yeah, and you see there, Morgan sensed something. He turned in a little bit earlier probably than he would have otherwise wanted to. And so Hibbett decided to roll better speed. You can see he got the nose there. Now he's tracking a longer distance, but here comes Rick Segrini. And as you said, Rick Segrini dropping that right tire over that curb to stay in position here. But look at the toe here, right at the end that Hibbett gets, and then pops, Kyle.
Yeah, and I think if he not dropped the tires off at the exit of 9, he might have had enough momentum to take him all the way to the pointy end there. But I think going back to the exit of the corner right here, he wanted to get down to that orange cone where Rick Segrini was, but because the yellow and black car was there, he wasn't able to get all the way to it. And even behind, look at that battle with Soto as well, all the way to the stripe. That was fun.
Yeah, it was. I remember Soto had dropped off after getting freight train there, and that beautiful save in turn 1. I wouldn't mind seeing that again. That was glorious. And fought his way back up. I think, was that a top 5? Or
I think
no, it was 6, I think.
P6, yeah. And I think I had to figure out where the situation was. I think it was right here, coming on down into turn 1. This is that moment where Soto kind of got muscled out of line.
Yes, exactly. Morgan just sort of gave the little bit of a hip check right there. And I don't think it was particularly, he was swinging out. Oh, look at that save. And I think Morgan thought he cleared him and so was moving over to, look at that, just beautiful.
That was cool. I bet you that Jordan Rixagrini probably had a pretty good view of that as well.
I think he did.
Find him on the timing and scoring to... Here we are. Whoa! Oh. And even the 53 of Trace Hance, probably.
Yeah.
Gosh.
That was superb.
Well, race 1 is complete, Greg, and race 2 coming up here in just about 2 minutes' time. What did we learn? What's going to be different for the second race?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, because, to me, I actually kind of thought that somebody would try something into 1 because, if you got a good run out of 1 through 2, looked like it was difficult to get close. But as you said, that toe all the way down into turn 8, 9, just so stout that clearly that was the obvious place to go for it here. I don't know what you do better. I mean, what you want to do, obviously, for Camden is don't go wide, I think, going into 8 on that last lap and anybody else, because we saw that if there's a guy behind you, he's going to stick the nose in. Then you can't get down to that apex curb and really, get the speed you want out of the turn, and you're going to run wide. And I think you're right, Kyle. Had he not done that, had Rick Sagrini just not had his nose underneath there, I think Camden had the speed in the exit and the draft that he could have pulled that off. So I think, as you said, that's, obviously everybody learning it. And this place has proven to be an awful lot of fun here. And I love right here, this angle really shows why they used to call that the Omega. Such a great corner there. Hey, we have talked about, obviously, the games and the prizes, hardware and stuff. Got to say thanks to Court, Full Send Sims. We didn't get that done up at the top of the show. Again, Farah has joined us as well. And the Florida-based series looking to expand in the future, maybe even 2025, and provides the most accessible road racing series really for spectators and competitors with very low costs on each end. 3P Logistics, they've been with us from the very beginning, and a huge thank you to Frank Rodriguez for that. And also Rob Greenwood of Final Turn Motorsports. They were one of the other ones that came with us from day one. And then Wine Country Motorsports joining mid-season last year, mid-2023. And, of course, Wine Country Motorsports, a great group as well. So, and a quick reminder here that if you haven't run WeatherTech Raceway, that's going to be our next event. That'll be coming up on September 10th. If you haven't run that this Thursday night, there will be a Racecraft Academy at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. So all you got to do is get to fullsendsims.com and check it out, and you can get some extra track time at Laguna. And I don't know that that's ever a bad thing.
No, I don't think it is either. And just like Summit Point, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca is default iRacing content. So it's a place that you've got tons of laps on, most likely, if you're an iRacer. But I think the value of those school evenings, I think, are measured a lot more than just by making laps, Greg. So that's going to be very exciting. Get people trained up for the next round. But
yeah. Well, the next, the other part of it is that's not just, we also have the open practices. But right. Those Racecraft Academy nights, you got the instructors. And that includes Morgan Burkhart and Beans and some amazing talent that will work with you if you're struggling somewhere on any of the tracks that we're doing one of those Racecraft Academies on. They'll help you with that. And they'll also help you with how do you deal heading into turn 8, 9 here, for instance, when you're in traffic and you need to make that pass. What's the best way to set it up? What's the best way to work on it? Those Racecraft Academies are pretty brilliant stuff.
Gets you set up, but I think certainly at tracks like this that you've never been to before, there's extra advantage there. But it was really neat. The fun story behind Willow Springs in iRacing, Greg, is that this track was scanned in, I think, 2010 or 2011. And it kind of sat on the back burner in the iRacing catalog and was never finished until the pandemic, when they started to kind of rework their backlog, including tracks like Long Beach, which was laser scanned in the same era but couldn't be completed because of technical restraints. But this track is relatively recent, was released only a couple of seasons ago here in iRacing. And it's just a project that finally got completed. And you always wonder what other projects iRacing has in their back burner. And there's a few things we can talk about because it's build day tomorrow. So iRacing's quarterly build. Tomorrow we're going to get a couple new things, including Cadwell Park, which I'm very excited about.
Oh, man, that's a great
love
track.
that place. We're also getting rescanned and updated versions of Spa-Francorchamps tomorrow, which that track is long overdue. That's about a 12-year-old, 13-year-old laser scan. And then Circuit Zolder also got a redo as well. And we've also got a couple new cars on the way, most notably the McLaren 720S GT3, which, man, I love myself some McLarens. So those are just a couple highlights of things that are coming. Mini stocks also, and a few tweaks and things to the wet weather and the damage system and some audio stuff. So very excited. Unfortunately, tomorrow I leave for an SRO event, so I will not get to play around with any of the build stuff until next week. But for all the iRacers on the service, new toys tomorrow at 8 a.m.
Yeah. And any word on when our series might be getting the ability to do little rain racing?
I haven't seen. I haven't checked this car specifically, but I don't think this car got the rain tires. I know that TCR did in this build, which was kind of one that was being awaited. It was one of the last kind of modern GT or touring cars that had yet to have them. So once they get those cars out of the way, they'll likely go through and do the backlog of all the other road series cars, which would include these guys. So maybe not this season, but presumably next. It's what keeps you subbing, right? What are they going to do next, Greg?
What fun can we have? Yeah, exactly. As if we're not having enough.
Right.
This is just awesome. Look at this nice field. I am
beautiful.
so happy that we got this kind of car count here at this newbie track here for the series. And man, it is. And a few of the racers that I did talk to that have driven it said it's a blast. And now I get it.
Yeah, and the other fun thing about iRacing, Greg, is that the grandstands and the trackside areas are always full, no matter where we are.
That's true.
I think you'd have a hard time getting this many people into Willow Springs for any event nowadays, but it's just like the 60s.
Absolutely. Oh, man, what an era. I mean, can you imagine coming here, standing up in the Omega, and seeing a field of, 30, 40, 50, AC Cobras, Scarabs, that era of sports car thundering through on this track. Oh, how glorious was that?
Well, we're going to relive it with a little less displacement today.
Yeah, there you go.
But pace cars off, Greg, and 20 minutes go up on the board for the second race of the night.
All right. See if Morgan can sweep. Can Camden come through and grab something? Or Rick Segrini, Wanchi Lin, Trace Hance? Any of those drivers have an opportunity too. And here we go. We're green. And look there by Hayden, and a bigger look by John Reyes down to the inside. Rick Segrini got a nice run. Jumps to the inside. Trace Hance at his shoulder, but Rick Segrini could not get up alongside enough. And here we go. Exit to turn one. A couple of cars. Was that, not sure who that was running wide back there.
I think that was Andrew Gillen in the 91. No, it was a car ahead of him, I think. Elliot Burton.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think that's, or was that Preston?
Oh, it was Preston in the 42. You are right.
Yeah, so, well, if Preston runs a little wide, that's a tricky corner.
Exactly.
It's something else here. But now, the difference we have here, obviously, in this one, is you got Rick Segrini, who had to fight his way up into third, and Wanchi Lin, who had, I think, qualified seventh and worked his way in a race-long battle with Trace Hance. They were swapping spots left and right. They got themselves up into 4 and 5 and all over the back of Jordan. But now the question is, what can Jordan do from where he is located at this stage here? And can he make a little bit more of this battle here as we go back and 2, 3, 4 abreast here? And I'll tell you, Nicholas Rice-Budo, he has got to be just frustrated beyond belief, sitting way back in the order now. 20. Now, where did he start?
The 0-3 started in 29th, and he's up to 21st and trying to gain any spot he can to the inside of CJ Bunn and up and over the top of CJ Bunn.
And more cars getting absolutely clouded in the mix here. I see the 70 of El Ducharme having a problem. Oh, man. Spolman in the pits, the 042.
Wow.
Man, caught some serious air there.
Gosh, the 977 and 8 Spitz got a whole bunch of damage out of that. He didn't really do much wrong. He was just right in the midst of that, nowhere to go, and pow! There's the 70 that you pointed out.
Yep, CJ Bunn. No, excuse me. Yeah, the 86 of CJ was having a really nice event here.
And up over the crest. Look at this. This is Hans and Rick Segrini trying to take our breath away for a moment, Greg.
Yeah, and then Hayden Manis right there as well. I was going to say, I find myself frequently, instead of saying tonight or whatever, this weekend. And for me, I think that's the ultimate compliment to iRacing in this series, because it feels like it's a weekend event to me. It feels like that's really, really cool how good this racing is. And Morgan Burkhardt just plummeted.
Yeah, I wonder if he had a slowdown to serve, if he cut a corner a little too tight.
Could be.
I think that's the only way that would make sense for him to drop back so far. But you make a good point about this. I mean, you don't have to sell me on it, but iRacing is really an unbelievable platform that you can race on so many tracks with. We only use one car, but the variety of cars and tracks and the stability of the service and the ability to do whatever you really want and use it as a tool like this and to be able to present it like this. You can't do this with any other simulator. So, like I said, I don't need to be sold on it, but maybe you do, and everybody else, right? So, give it a try.
Well, it's amazing, and obviously I don't drive it very much, but, calling these races is, I'm all in. I'm loving it. Oh, look at this move. Rick Segrini going for the double here, and I think he might. Oh, Hibbett's giving him the squeeze. Hibbett's got position now. Floats out wide, but has position up into the Omega. But what a move by Rick Segrini.
Trying to capitalize now that Burkhardt's out of the picture for a few laps, get the track position that you can. Saw the door open, went for it, just wasn't able to complete the pass. And Trace Hance just having a career day, sitting in third at the moment. And you pointed out Wan Shi Lin, who started pretty deep in the field. Well, I think it was midfield, 11th in race 1. Finished up inside the top 5 or 6 in the first race. And here he is now pushing for a podium now in race 2.
Yeah, he's just been superb. He was 4th in that first race and was all over Rick Segrini, both he and Trace. And Trace down to the inside. And I thought he might drift over and just clip Rick Segrini. That was a great piece of driving to not get into it. And here we go again. This lead group is just deep on the field here. It's 9 cars again. And here comes Wan Chi diving to the inside of Hans. Rick Segrini diving to the inside of Hibbert. And Hibbett, excuse me. And watching.
Look out. There goes Burkhardt way off course. And he saves it.
And Preston Pardis taking the wild ride as well.
Boom.
He got a little bit of air there. Worried if he got damaged there. Was that Hans that he tapped with, I think?
I think so. And it sent him for a little bit of a ride. Here comes Manis now on driver's right, and Burkhardt up to 4th. Somehow he's still parlaying this to a positive gain on this lap, which is pretty unbelievable considering his car was airborne and off track 30 seconds ago.
Now, what happened to Wan Chi? Did he get caught out in that when he went airborne? Because he lost 2 spots in a huge hurry.
Yeah, I think so. Got some nose damage too. I don't think it's significant, but it's not helping.
Yeah. He's been showing some fabulous pace here. Let's see if he can reel that group of 5 back in. And right behind him right now is Preston Pardis, who's got Josh Soto chomping at the bit right behind him. And then Dylan Lee.
Pardis could really mess this up for these front runners because He's not here for a championship. He's not thinking long term. And maybe Rick Zagrini isn't either, but Hibbett, Hans, Burkhardt, they all are. And you get a guy with the experience of Preston Pardus and the kind of no-care attitude of a guy that just wants to win a race. He's not going to sit behind you because you've got a championship you're fighting for. Look at this battle, 2x2, first and third under fire.
And you talk about liking that driver's right, but you got to trust that guy on the inside isn't going to track all the way out. Rick Zagrini gives him a nice amount of respect, and boy, I'll tell you, that outside line. And look at Burkhardt diving from that fourth spot. He may have just been able to steal away the second spot, and as I say that, Trace Hans doing Rick Zagrini a big favor and just giving him a big old push.
Like they're flying formation, like they're fighting on the Blue Angels or something. I mean, it's just diamond formation up into turn 3.
Oh, great stuff here. Hans getting trapped around the outside just a little bit, but ooh, a little bit of a slide by Hibbett, and that gives Rick Zagrini breathing room, and it allows Morgan to come right down the inside and take it away. Manis way wide in that all-important turn 5. Yeah, you just got to straighten it out and hope for the best when you come back on here and look at the amount of ground he lost.
Yeah, and he'll have to give up some more too, because that'll count as a cut course, even though he lost some ground. So that's the tough part about going off there, is you're immediately on the inside apex of another corner. So as soon as you go off, you get sort of double penalized there. But that opens up the gap to the front 3 as Hans and Soto and Wanshi Lin are fighting for 4th.
Yeah, Wanshi had a nice head of steam built up and ended up not being able to do anything with it. Right behind him, Dylan Lee, Jean Reyes putting on one scrap as well, and is that a recovering Hayden Manis back there as well?
Here comes Pardus. Making really good progress. If he gets up to the top 5 with 2 or 3 laps left, you're circling that 42.
You may have called it. Yeah, absolutely. Look at this. John Reyes down to the inside of Dylan Lee, and Dylan shut the door. Tap there. That's a little bump and run, wasn't it?
Yeah, a little chrome horn on it.
Yeah. And another little, a little smooch.
These two going at it
on
too.
The cheek there. Ah, this is. Oh, boy, Soto. That's going to be just enough to let Wanshi come through, and like Jean Reyes took advantage of it as well.
Yeah, it's such a momentum track. You make one mistake and everybody pounces on you. And we were joking about it being, Talladega earlier, Talladega with sweepers, but it's similar in that you kind of get sucker hold if people pop out of your line. See ya, you're going to the back.
Oh, absolutely. And, these cars don't have big horsepower that you can get back up to speed a little quicker. That doesn't eliminate the issue when you lose momentum, but it stems the flow of the damage a little bit when you got a lot of horsepower. These don't. It just takes a long time to get back up to that speed. And look at Andrew Gilliland flying up.
Up to 9th.
Putting on a beautiful move.
All forward progress for him tonight. Rick Zagrini has Burkhardt on driver's right. He chose to defend on the left. And I think he's going to lose this spot. And Hibbett is going to see the writing on the wall. Look out. Contact.
Ooh,
and they spin.
Both of them go.
And Rick Zagrini
Morgan saved it and then got absolutely slammed in the back. And his car's broken.
And it's Wanshi Lin that got into the back of him.
Oh, no.
And Trace Hans. They're also out.
Oh my goodness, both of them got caught out.
Yeah, let's look again. You see the contact there, then he had it saved, and then 1, 2, both those cars.
Oh, it was Hans that got into him, Wanshi nowhere to go.
And Jordan was recovering and then got into the spinning 53.
Boy, that was an off by Jordan.
It was, and yeah, again, it all kind of stemmed from the contact up at the front. They got tangled together, and then everyone scattering behind.
Yeah, and I don't know. It didn't look to me like there wasn't enough room for them both to be able to make it through. I wonder if somebody just slid a little bit.
But you know what this has done? It puts Hibbett out front, and then Preston Pardus through to second. He's got a lot of ground to make up, but 9 minutes to do it.
Yeah, and he's just driven a brilliant race. How about Jean Reyes sitting right there, podium position right now. But he's got an always aggressive Josh Soto right on his 6 at this point. And Andrew Gilliland with with all that was going on, stayed clean. He's 5th. He is just having an absolute breakout year.
I think Gilliland, he's right behind Soto and Reyes, who are right behind Pardus, provided that, ooh, a little wide there at the exit of 1, provided that they don't get all tangled up racing for second. Yep. Any of these cars could still win this race, but they're going to rely a lot on Pardus to make up ground on Camden Hibbett. Now, Pardus is so good at driving MX-5s, but you have to consider how good Hibbett is in the simulator, and that he kind of comes from that sim racing background, which Pardus, with all that real-world experience, some of it might not translate directly to this car in this situation. So we'll see who's got the upper hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, whoop, little touch there from Jean Reyes. And Pardus able to hang on to it, but he's getting, you know, the indicator from the back right now. Ooh, saw him just walk that car sideways. That cost him a little bit of momentum here. And Reyes, and maybe even Soto might have, and Gilliland for that matter, might have opportunity here.
Yeah,
here comes Reyes.
I'm a little bit surprised Reyes went so quickly to try to get by Pardus, because they lost about half a second in that exchange. I thought he'd be a little bit more patient, kind of wait for Pardus to pull them forward, but Preston knows battling is just going to cost them time. And it's a lone wolf out front. They can run him back down, but they've got to get the fastest locomotive on the front of the train.
You bet. And I mean, they've got to make up 1.8 seconds right now. So they've, you know, all this battling is not going to be the way to do it here. And Pardus down to the end. You talked about it. Pardus doesn't really care about a championship battle at this point. He just, you know, he'd probably just love to get a podium here. And he's trying to recover a bit. And oh, man, it's dropping the tires again in the back here. And Gilliland just defending on Pardus as much as he can right now. Soto trying to figure out a way by Reyes.
Yeah, this is, you know. Well, we'll see. I mean, 6 minutes, 1.8 seconds. That's a tall task here with a guy like Hibbett out front.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, really right now, I think you know, for this group to be able to catch him, I think you need Soto in front.
You might be right about that.
I think he's the quicker driver out there right now.
Pardus on defense here from Dylan Lee. Dylan's everyone, it seems like no one really wants to sit behind Pardus. They immediately go to pass him, and you have to wonder if that's maybe a return of the favor from when he was driving through the field, if he also was just kind of poking holes wherever he could to get to the front. Because you think that people would be a little bit more willing to work together, but it doesn't seem like they are interested in that.
Well, the other thing, you know, when I saw, you know, through turn 5, when Preston, that car just walked sideways a bit and see what's going on, we talked about this, maybe not enough, that you've got to be a little careful on tires. And I wonder if he just pushed those tires too far. You know, Matt, you know, made his way, as you said, up into that second spot, and then maybe just used them up.
Well, things are looking good for Camden Hibbett, because he was, again, the fastest car on the racetrack that time by. And it's 2 seconds clear of Reyes for now with about 4 laps left.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult at this stage for these guys to make it up. So really, Camden, when he's out front like this, is not one to make, you know, throw it away errors here. So I think our battle is going to be for the 2 podium spots. Those curves, though.
Yeah, you hear the revs climb. Wow, Pardus hammered the curb. He's offline big time now. Here comes Lee to the inside. Now I see why he wants by. Excuse me, sir, coming through.
Yeah, I really think Pardus has just, those tires have just been chewed up.
Yeah, you
115 now. Yeah.
You mentioned him sliding around through 5. I noticed that as well. He kind of turned the car in on the nose, and the rear stepped out. He just drove it like that in the slide, which is fast for a moment, but maybe slower in the long run. I don't think.
And of course, when you're sliding, you're just grinding those tires across the pavement.
And the tire loads here are so high because the corners are so fast.
Well, but you can see Preston's racecraft. Did you see that little bit of an over-under move he was trying to make work, and darn near pulled it off. Just couldn't quite get it done, but just I love watching these. I love watching how these guys, you know, you can see their minds work, you know, sometimes just these little moves they make here and there.
I'm starting to figure out why they didn't put walls around every corner of this track. We would have hit them all by now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This has been your standard standard track with guardrail and everything, this would have been a mess. And nowhere near as fun.
No, certainly not. And we're down to the last 3 laps here. And Reyes and Soto, I think the battle for second is going to be the one to watch, because Hibbett, as long as he stays on the road pointed the right direction, he's just got to make laps and he's going to win this race. But P2 on, podium spot still on the horizon here.
And look who is closing in on this battle for the podium. One Andrew T. Gilliland.
Oh, he's a little wide.
Oh, he runs a little wide.
Look at him work that wheel.
Here we go, up and over Monroe Ridge.
Love watching, you can kind of see as he glances up to the mirror. So you go for the gear there, see him check up in the mirror just for a split second, and he focuses ahead. And then he commits to the corner. He's not looking behind him now. All out the windshield. There's a glance as he gets straightened back out, seeing what Dylan Lee is doing. Just love watching the drivers at work.
I do too. Ooh! Whoop. Soto way off. Comes back on, but that might be enough. Well, let's see if Gilliland Soto immediately. Wow, I'll tell you, he ran wide, didn't lose a thing, did he? Carried enough speed, dives to the inside of Jean Reyes. And look at Gilliland square up to the inside. He's out of position though. All right, he gets back in.
Ooh, Dylan Lee almost got to the back of him there. They checked up. You kind of all want the same line, this kind of center bottom lane through the middle of turn 2. And you kind of, if you get offline there, you're going to get past. So everyone checks up just to make sure that they can fit, like parallel parking at 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly. It really is. Ooh, Reyes too hot. Really tried to chuck it in there. Made it work. Wow, he made up that whole deficit. I thought he was in way too hot. Look at Lee underneath Gilliland.
Oh, Elliott Burton and Manis are also leaning on each other in the background there.
Huge.
All the stack-ups at the front accordioned all the way to the back of this group, and they're still banging fenders. They're running out of laps, and these are all points-paying positions these guys are fighting for.
Yeah, and Elliott Burton having none of that from Manis, and just slides across, takes that spot away. Soto was able to, again, after Reyes just chucked it up into the Omega and closed on him, Soto now has been able to ease away just a little bit here. Dylan Lee looking down to the inside of Gilliland, but Andrew, boy, he's driving some pretty lines there. Oh, again, Soto way off. And the white flag is out. Hibbett now officially up by 3.5 seconds. And I think Josh Soto he is happy to run super wide at the exit at 9 off into the desert, because I think when he gets back on track, it actually he's carrying a bit more speed. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him, if he's in the lead coming out at 9, to be happy to do that again.
Just don't catch a bad bounce. Like I said,
exactly.
That area is pretty hard packed, which benefits you in some ways, but as soon as you catch a rock the wrong way, you can end up in the concrete. Ask me how I know that.
The voice of experience.
Just be lucky that there's a reset button in iRacing.
All right.
Oh, Soto's way wide.
Soto way out.
Contact.
That was I'm not sure what could have maybe happened there. Did he miss a shift?
Not sure. Maybe he wanted the inside here. Oh, more contact. That's going to push Reyes off, and Gilliland through to third. And Dylan Lee's going to offer him a push.
Oh boy, here we go. This is the drag race. And Lee right now is doing a huge favor to Andrew Gilliland. Gilliland takes over that third spot. Lee outside, Reyes inside. Gilliland closing it up, rolling some speed up onto Soto.
Oh, where do you go?
I think Gilliland may have just got a little nose from Reyes, and he did a great job to save it, and he goes way off to the outside here, but he comes back on, and looks like he's got a nice head of steam. Look at Pardis in the background at the line. Oh, my goodness.
He's got it.
Yeah. Yes. Unbelievable.
First podium, Andrew Gilliland, by 30 thousandths of a second. How about that?
Oh, my goodness. That was just remarkable. What a finish.
Look how excited he is. He's stoked.
Understandably.
He's breathing hard. I mean, he worked so hard for that.
Yeah. What a great race. Camden, in the end, checked out by over 5 seconds.
Let's have a look.
Yeah, got to watch this again.
I got to go back a little further and watch this. I mean, he set this up perfectly. He ran out wide at the end here, but
now
he kept his foot in it right there.
Right there. Loosened him up just for a second. Off he went. But that's the Soto line. And look, it actually almost gave him a better run.
And
look at how close this is.
There.
Boom.
3 wide for third.
Wow. How
cool.
about that, folks?
That was cool.
How fun is that? Welcome to Big Willow.
Yeah. Big Willow, big cojones there at the end to keep the foot in it, too. I mean, you got it. It's big everything.
Yep.
He missed the bush there, too, didn't he?
He did. He did. And then look here. Look at Pardis. Out, in, all over the spot.
Pardis got... where did he land after all that? Preston Pardis.
I'm not sure. Because he, technically crossed 16th. In front of Burton, it looked like.
Yeah, he might have had a time penalty from something else, but...
Okay. That makes sense.
Ooh, all right. Well, let's here's a look at your results. And first, podium for Andrew Gill and Joshua Soto, P2, and Camden Hibbett drove away as everyone else was battling behind him.
Yeah, you really did. And then John Reyes and Dylan Lee complete your top 5. Burton, Elliott doing a nice job up into 6th. Hayden Manessa fighting 7th. Dylan Maroney came from a ways back into 8th. Wozencroft another top 10. And Josh Clatterbuck doing a great job into the top 10. So well done for Josh.
Deacon Greenfield, we didn't see as much of him as I think he was probably hoping tonight, unfortunately, but ended up in 11th place. Jordan Rixigrini got tangled up there with Morgan Burkhardt, rebounded for a 12th. And unfortunately for Burkhardt, only an 18th that he was able to salvage. Court Schmidt, P13, Jim Friedhofer, Reef Aziz, your top 15. And then Preston Pardis finishing unofficially 16th spot. Then Buttermore, Burkhardt, Lynn, and Hance, the rest of your top 20.
And then we take a look at the rest here. CJ Bunn, obviously, back a ways. And then you can see everybody who had problems with incidents or mechanicals and the issues that they had. Nicholas Rice Pudo and Skip Rock obviously got to be super frustrated knowing how quick they were, have been in the opening rounds. But Skip came in well placed in the points, and Olivier Piatek, boy, talk about a rough event. I do want to give a shout out here, though, to Joshua Clatterbuck. I think that is his first top 10. And man, it was a fighting one at that. And great job. He finished in front of Deacon Greenfield and Jordan Rixigrini. Great job by Joshua.
Well, Jordan Rixigrini was 3rd in race number 1, landed on the podium there, was battling for a podium in race number 2, but Jordan kind of got tangled up there with Morgan Burkhardt and a few others, ended up in 12th in this one. But race 1, P3, not a bad night, all things considered, but I know you would have liked race 2 to have gone a little different.
Yeah, no, race 1 went pretty good, didn't get the best qualifying, and everybody was trying to adjust to the new track that we haven't been to, learn the car here, and was able to put together a nice race 1, land on the podium, and had a run for 2nd and 1st, and then was in a good spot in race 2. I was feeling really good, was running my laps, and just the draft is so heavy here, and you come in side by side to one, and I felt like I kept it down at the bottom, and gonna have to watch that one back. I felt like I couldn't have done much more where I was at, but we'll have to watch back and check it out.
Well, and I think you make a good point, because I said when that happened that it looked to me like it wasn't like anybody squeezed, or that you had run out of track, that there was room for both of you to get through there clean. So yeah, we need to, take a peek at that. But I'll tell you, this one was a roller coaster race, wasn't it? You started 3rd, dropped to 15th, and at one point you were as high as 1st.
Yeah.
That had to be crazy. But what do you think of this place? It's new to the series, and we were all wondering, all right, how well is this going to race? And it was absolutely entertaining to watch and call.
Oh, I'm sure it was fun for you guys to call, because with how much draft was here, it was keeping a big group together. It definitely had to be a fun one to watch from the outside. I think it's got a good flow. I know a lot of people don't like in the lower horsepower cars, but I enjoyed it tonight.
Oh, good. And how was it on your tires?
Honestly, there is a pretty big drop off, but with everybody having the the same. It was actually kind of cool towards the end through I think it was 4 or 5, that long horseshoe right-hander. Making passes around the outside was enabled once the tires hit their initial drop-off, and it's kind of fun doing that. That's not really something you're used to in these cars, and you could really wrap around the outside. That's how I got to the lead. It made for some fun racing.
Well, it made for some fun watching and announcing too, and we did see you do that outside move, man. Well done.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it.
Hey, Jordan, you headed to Barber this weekend?
I will be there.
I will be there too. I'll see you this weekend.
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right, Jordan, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, let's next talk to Camden Hibbett, who won race number 1, came up just a little bit shy, or won race 2 rather, came up a little bit shy in race number 1. And Camden, tonight, that first race was pretty physical. That was fun to watch. A number of lead changes between you and Morgan. And then race number 2, battles were happening, and then all of a sudden everything exploded and you're leading by 5 seconds. So take us through your night and what you saw at the windshield and the rearview mirror.
Yeah, race 1 was Morgan kind of showed me his experience, and that he kind of asserted that he was I'm 15. I don't know how old Morgan is, but he kind of asserted his dominance, if you will, in race 1 tonight. I could get runs on him, but I couldn't complete the pass, and every single time I got clear, he was back in front of me within 3 corners. So I got some work to do. I know I ended up winning race 2. I probably wouldn't have if Morgan didn't have that contact with Jordan. I got some work to do. Last season was I had some really good moments last season and made a lot of progress, and I've been learning a lot from Morgan, but Morgan's on his A game this season, so I got some catching up to do and some studying to do before next week for sure.
Well, you know, it's always fun to watch the young gun and the alpha male going at it here, and you're working your way up to it. You know, so tell us how much fun is this track to drive and then race, knowing obviously those are 2 different things.
Yeah, I think the driving is kind of got thrown out the window. Come race time at this track, like you can be a half second off and it does not matter. I mean, the draft is so big, you can close up to anybody. You can be within 4 or 5 tenths and win the race. That's just how this track races, and that's why you saw for the majority of the night such big packs, especially up front. That's why you saw a lot of lead changes in the first race, because we were getting those opportunities, but it is really hard to make a pass here. The draft kind of gives you those chances to make moves, but your driving and your racecraft really shines at this place to where you got to be able to make a pass and then think about how you're going to defend it as well. Oh, excuse me. And that is something that Morgan did really well in race 1, and something that I'm going to go back and watch and try and learn from. We go to Road America this season, I know. I don't think we go to Daytona, but Sebring is pretty similar. So there's a lot of these draft tracks on the schedule. Road Atlanta is another one. So a lot of draft tracks on the schedule this year, and I just got to learn how to make that pass. I got the pass clear most of the time. I just got to learn how to play the draft right, play the cards right, and end up holding them off through the final couple corners is what it ultimately comes down to.
Yeah, that run through 8 and 9 with that draft and, you know, where you place the car coming in. And in that first race, I was going to ask you about that because in that last turn going into 8, you opted for a little bit of a wider entry. And I think that would have worked had Rick Sagrini not got the nose underneath you, because you couldn't get back down to that apex, it looked like, and really get the drive off of there. But what surprised me was in that first race was the amount of time you and Morgan at the front of the pack spent side by side.
Yeah.
You know, because we've seen that in the past, that allows that pack to build up behind you. And you know, normally you two just work with each other and try and dust the field, and not tonight.
Yeah, I think we both kind of knew that we weren't going to break away, no matter how hard we worked. I mean, we had 4 tenths on the field in qualifying, both of us did. But we just knew that this track is so draft dependent, we knew we weren't going to break away. So I think it was ultimately a game of who could get each other to wear out the tires the most. And he won that game in race 1, unfortunately. I was trying to go around the outside of turn 2 a couple times and just burning off my tires because of it, and he won that game. But yeah, through 8 and 9 on the final lap, I was trying to leave myself options. I didn't know what Morgan was going to do, if he was going to kind of send it off deep and just try and get enough of a gap or if he was going to kind of park it like he ended up doing. So I was going to leave myself an option to go around the high side if he ended up parking it, and then trying to give myself enough of an opportunity to go for a run and a crossover if he just sent it deep. And I think that's what he did. It was somewhere in between, but it was enough to where I think I could get the crossover done. But Jordan was just close enough to not let me come all the way down to the apex, and killed my run. I think 500's too short, I think.
Exactly.
So it was very close. It was about probably a second sooner on throttle and I might have had it, but that's Spec Miata racing, and that's racing at super speedway tracks like this. It's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, the second race, you had an opportunity when that, that bobble happened with Morgan and Jordan. You took advantage of it, great points, and you came in here pretty darn close. So, actually out in the lead, obviously, over Jordan. So, all in all, points-wise, not a bad evening for you, man.
Yeah, not bad. We got some work to do. I think we go to Laguna next week, but
yep.
I'm just gonna keep working on getting more aggressive, getting that racecraft down, because Morgan kind of started his dominance. He was the far veteran driver today, so congrats to him. I know the race 2 result wasn't what he was looking for, but it was a great drive from him today.
Well, you know what? You never stop learning. No
Absolutely.
Where you are in your career. So can't wait to see what you come up with.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, man.
And second place in race number 2 was Josh Soto, who almost got turned off into the weeds. You were able to save it and hang on. I think that was in race number 1, Josh. But tonight, some really solid runs. You come home second in race number 2, 6th in race 1. Take us through your evening. It was pretty fierce out there, it looked like.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was definitely a very challenging race. It's one of the better races. I'm usually good at draft tracks, so I knew I would be like towards the front. But yeah, it's a very very challenging track because it catches you off guard if you're just like a centimeter off the regular racing line, especially going into the last turn. That's where you get like a lot of off tracks, but. Yeah, overall it was just a really fun race.
Well, it was sure fun to call it, and watching what you were doing. At one point in that first race, you were up front, and then you just dropped back almost suddenly. Did you have some sort of an issue, or was it just like you said, you just missed it by that much on the line?
In race 1 or race 2?
I think it was race 2 at the top of the hill.
You're right. Yeah, race 2.
Race 2.
Top of the hill, race 2. Yep.
Oh, on top of the hill. If it was on the last lap, I think I went off. I think I went. Yeah, I took like a wider line, and that caused me to drop back a little bit.
Okay.
But I think before that, there was like an incident or something. I remember I got pushed or something, and I started losing positions, but.
Maybe, yeah. I think that's that's what it was. So you did get pushed. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing though was you had one of the prettiest saves we have ever seen in turn 1 when you and Morgan got that little bit of a tip. It was a thing of beauty, and that save obviously ultimately led to you ending up on the podium here. It was just an amazing save. It looked like was it just a little bit of a touch?
Yeah, it was a tiny touch. We were just going into turn 1, and it just took a little bit just to get a little bit sideways. But I was able to recorrect it really fast as soon as it happened.
Yeah, it was a great save, and obviously kept you in the hunt for a great finish. And I got to tell you, Josh, so it's so fun to watch you race, and just a pleasure. Thanks and congratulations on a really strong podium.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's always awesome to go back and watch the commentary of your guys' broadcast. I really appreciate it.
It's our pleasure, believe me.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate your time.
You too.
And tonight, well, it is, they call it Big Willow, Greg, but tonight it was a big night for Andrew Gilliland. We saw the excitement on your face, Andrew. You came across the stripe. First podium here in the Full Send Sim Spec Miata series, and in style by 30 thousandths of a second. 3 wide across the stripe at Willow Springs. Tell us, how do you feel?
Man, I feel awesome. I'm just pumped with energy right now. I'm just so glad I could pull through and get this podium.
I tell you, I've never been so happy that we had a camera on you, because your reaction when you did it was just glorious to see how excited you were. And I'll tell you what, you're probably way too young to understand this phrase, but I'm going to use it anyway. You did it the old-fashioned way. You earned it, including what looked like to me just a little touch from Jean Reyes in that last turn. And you had to make an amazing save, and it still scooted wide on the exit, and you just kept it matted.
Yeah, man, I was getting raced hard the whole race, and just I had to keep myself together, because I knew I needed to pull through with a good finish. I did. I had cover the inside going into the final corner, and then I got bumped a little bit, sending me wide, but I just kept my foot on the throttle, kept it pinned, and just didn't lift until I got across the line.
It was brilliant, as was your entire race. Just the way you were scrapping, and when somebody would get through on you, how you just fight back and make it happen. What do you think of Big Willow? What do you think of this track?
I mean, it's not my favorite, but it's a huge draft track. You don't have to be the fastest driver to finish, high in the standings. As long as you can race well in the pack and stick with the cars in front of you and maybe make a couple moves now and there, you'll be pretty good.
Well, and that is exactly what you did, my friend, and you are a Full Send Sims podium finisher. And
Thank you.
We knew it was coming, and so happy that you got it early here. We can't wait to see how many more you put up on the season.
Thank you.
Thanks,
You
Andrew.
bet.
And tonight, Morgan Burkhardt was able to win race number 1, but race 2 didn't quite go the way you were hoping. Morgan got kind of tangled up there with Rick Segrini, and then the cars just piled in there. But still, some points on the evening from that race win, but that second race, one to forget, huh?
Yeah, no, I like to think more about race 1. That was a really fun duel with Camden and everybody else. I mean, this track is annoyingly difficult to pass on. So I knew I kind of wanted to stay in the lead. I figured out pretty early on that the outside of turn 1 was going to be really powerful. You can't really drive around the outside of turn 2. If you're far enough up alongside going into 3 on the outside, you can make that work. And then they can't do anything at the top of the hill there. But I mean, it's a really big chess game, and just all about car placement. Where can you put the car and really block off other people's momentum without hitting them. In race 2, I mean, it really just isn't unfortunate. I got the slowdown in that corner right there. I'd never gotten it before. I mean, I did buy the track an hour and a half ago, but that was the first time that I'd experimented putting 2 wheels over the curb there, and it gave me slowdown, so that was fun. Only got dropped back to like 6th, so it wasn't too bad. And yeah, just working back up to the field, Jordan and I went side by side into turn 1, and I think because this track is so high load and iRacing's tire-to-tire contact model's not as good as it could be. I mean, no shade to iRacing, it's really good, but those little incidents like that seem to have a lot more effect than maybe they should. So we hit tire to tire, and it just popped us both wide, and it was kind of unfortunate. Tried to hold it and keep it rolling, and I mean, Trace really just had nowhere to go and piled into the back. And then after that, it was a pain to drive back to the pit lane. But yeah, big congrats to Camden. You did a really good job tonight.
Yeah, he did, and the battle that you guys had in that first race was wonderful. And Camden said that you took him to school a little bit tonight, in the sense that every time he got a pass done on you, he said within 3 corners you were back in front, and that's part of the momentum game, but also that's part, as you said, of car placement. When you get passed, how do you let that pass happen when you know you're going to get passed, so you can be effective in an immediate counterpunch move? And you just put on a bit of a clinic of that tonight.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been racing with this series for a really long time now, so pretty much everything that you can do, regardless of what track it is, I've seen before. So it's not easy to kind of predict, because everybody's a little bit different. But I mean, I've had so many close battles with Camden that we're to the point now where I think each of us can kind of read each other like a book. So I had a brainwave, and I was just like, well, I'll just drive different now and be unpredictable. So I don't want to say I let him through on purpose, but just kind of relinquishing what you have in certain areas so that you can just gain in others. Like if he's got momentum and I can already tell I'm not going to make the move, I'm just going to back out right now, let him get the momentum and be like, I'm in front, and then
kind of surprise them in the next corner, because usually I haven't really done that. I've been kind of passive, and if somebody wants to go through, I'll push them for a few laps, get in their mirrors, and then try and force a mistake. But going right back through, tried that, seemed to work out. But yeah, this season's gonna be really difficult. I mean, I wasn't here last week. I had a job to do down at VIR, and then I did the drop round in race 2 is going to get used, so it's going to have to be a whole lot of perfect for the rest of this series, and hope that Camden's got some bad luck. Otherwise, it's probably going to come down to the wire like it did last season. It's going to be really tight, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, so are we. We want it to be nice and tight, obviously, and have some good rate. One last question. I was watching some of the replays here that Kyle was putting up during the interview, and I don't want to steal any secrets if this is indeed the case, but it looked like there were a couple of times where you literally were hooking your inside tires on the back side of the curb. Is that intentional to kind of have that curb help you corner, or was that just dropping off the curb?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, my whole mindset, before I answer that, my whole mindset with this is that, I became an FSS instructor for a reason. I do coaching for a reason. Like, I'm an open book when it comes to these kinds of things. And to anybody watching this, if you have a question, ask me, I will answer. All you have to do is ask. I'm not going to give it out for free. But if you ask me, I'm happy to answer the question. All you got to do is ask. But yeah, I do that on purpose, 100%. So in the real world, you can't really get away with that because, tire beads exist, so you can slide the tire right off the bead. But in the sim, you can really take advantage of that, and in certain corners, when the car is in a state of understeer, you can just drive straight to the curbing. It picks the car up and moves it to where you want to go, and it kind of acts like putting roller coaster rails on one side of the car, and it allows you to roll a lot more speed.
All right, I love it. The lesson that continues.
There you go. There's always something to learn.
Absolutely. That's a fact. As always, Morgan, just an absolute treat to watch you race, bud. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. We'll see you next week.
Thanks,
You
Morgan.
bet.
And Greg, man, Willow Springs, what a night, what a track, what a place. And we get to race in California again next week at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. I think the quantities are maybe known a little bit better about that place than this, but I think either way, we got a treat tonight and more next week.
I think so too. And isn't it nice that we scheduled the 2 California rounds back to back so that nobody has to make that long haul back and forth?
Exactly.
We're always thinking this series is. To me coming here, I was so excited about it, but nervous as well because we talked about how racy is it going to be. Turns out it was plenty racy. I love Morgan saying it's annoyingly difficult to pass. Well, that just means we watched 2 20-minute races of fabulous creativity. And trying to figure out how to make things work, and that's pretty darn cool when you're talking about drivers the caliber that we have in this series. So, really excited, obviously. Hey, we can't end without saying another big thank you, of course, to Full Send Sims, Court Schmidt. Pretty good race tonight himself, up into the top 13, and as always, envisioning this series. And remember what he's doing here. Yeah, it's a marketing thing, but it's also trying to show the world that this is a simulation training opportunity to improve your racecraft in the real world, as well as just having fun. Also, big thank you to the folks at FARA, Jose de las Casas, for coming on board midway through our last season and doing a great job. Thank you so much to all of them. And then, of course, we've got to always talk about the folks that have been with us right from the off. 3P Logistics, Frank Rodriguez, Taylor Trackside Support, everything that they do, your family, your race car, they'll do it all and make sure you have a good time at the race to boot. Rob Greenwood and his Final Turn Motorsports, full service prep shop, trackside support as well. And then, of course, also big thanks to Wine Country Motorsport. So great stuff, and a big thank you to them as well. That's going to wrap things up here from the historic Willow Springs. Again, for Kyle Heyer and for Finian DeCuna, who does an absolutely brilliant job with the cameras and did so again. Thanks for joining us here at Willow. We will see you 1 week's time, Tuesday night, from no less a place than another legendary racetrack, Laguna Seca.